This is the BYD Seal, and I'm going to start by saying, all things considered, it's not as good as a Tesla Model 3. But what if you don't want a Tesla? What if you don't want a white good on wheels? What about if you want an electric car which feels like a proper premium car? Well, then I think you're going to love the BYD Seal. Hi guys, Tish here and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. In today's video, I'm so excited because I finally get to spend a week with the BYD Seal. There isn't many cars which have impressed me so much from the get-go as this one. So I can't wait to tell you all the reasons why I think I would buy this over a Tesla Model 3 and perhaps anything else in this class. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content like this, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So first off, let's start by talking about the first thing that really impressed me about this car, and that's the configurations. You see, often when you watch car reviews on YouTube, you'll say, Tish, that's all well and good, that does look fantastic, but that's got upgraded paint, upgraded wheels, upgraded interior, loads of packs, and that isn't the case with the BYD Seal. This is the entry-level car. You see, there's actually only 2 levels of specification. You've got the rear-wheel drive design trim, which is this one here, and then you've got an all-wheel drive high-performance excellence. This one is completely standard. The wheels are included, there's no upgrades on them. The paint colour, finished in white, that's included. There's actually only 2 options to upgrade the paint, with a green and also a blue, but you get 4 colour choices which are included, which I think is fantastic. You can also have the option of 2 interior finishes as well, and they're both included. I think that's brilliant, and it means that the car that you're looking at today could be the car that you'd be looking to buy, which is always a bonus. And let's go on to design, because I think this is a real highlight of this car and something which is quite underrated. When you take a look at this car, you realise how sleek and sporty it looks. It doesn't really look like a Chinese product, and that may be because they actually poached the designer over from Audi, who helped design the original e-tron and also the R8, and a lot of that German influence has gone into this car. It feels quite European to me. It really, to me, is one of the best looking in its class. I really like the Hyundai Ioniq 6, but I think this just tips it for me. It's almost a bit more premium than the Ioniq 6. The Ioniq 6 is trying to be a bit more quirky, whereas this is a bit more understated. I really like the lighting signatures. So you've got the headlamps, which are really sleek. You've got this daytime running light, which just hangs underneath, and then you've got these really cool lighting signatures across the bottom on the gloss black, which look fantastic at night. I love the colour combination as well. You've got the white paintwork and then you've got the gloss black bottom diffuser too. It looks super sporty. This bonnet is quite low. It comes down really far, and then you've got the flush BYD on the front. I just think it's a very handsome looking car. But let me know, what do you think is the best looking car in this class? Pop it in the comments down below. And the wheels as well, as I mentioned, the wheels are included. So on this design trim, you get 19-inch wheels, and these do have those kind of aero parts on them to make them aerodynamic, and you've got the contrasting of the chrome, but they look a lot more premium than some other rivals. I love the fact that you've got gloss black underneath the door mirrors. You've also got this little gloss black blade here which says BYD design, and then you've got a contrasting black roof as well. It's a very good looking car and super sporty in its styling. But what about around the back? Around here, you'll still see that super sporty styling. You've got a very aggressive bottom diffuser, finished once again in gloss black. It is a little bit higher at the back here, and that's to give you a bit more space in the boot and also in the rear, which we'll talk about in a moment. But carrying on about that design, you may be wondering, where does Seal actually come in when it comes to this car? And you'll start to notice when you look closely some really nice little design touches, like you've got this almost gill effect at the back of these rear windows, and you've also got almost these scales on the rear lights. Sure, I know that seals don't actually have gills and scales, but the point is that's the underwater theme continuing. It's almost a bit fish-like, a bit aquarian-like. I really like these little design touches, and you notice more every time you look at this car. It's not boring in any way. I also really like the way you've got this geometric part at the bottom of the side seals. It just really looks very interesting. Now, moving around to the rear of the car, on the back of this design trim model, you've got BYD Seal written on the boot. Now, if you go for the high performance excellence, they actually put the power of this car, or the 0 to 62 time, on the back, which just gives you bragging rights, doesn't it? I actually quite like that. And I know that a lot of people who drive electric cars really do like the fact that their cars are quicker than a lot of petrol naysayers. So I think quite a lot of people will like that. You've got a lighting bar as well, which runs all the way along the back of the car. It's just so clean. But talking about clean, there's no rear wiper, which I know is a big debate nowadays, but I think with the shape of the Seal, it's really not going to be a problem. Now, talking about boot space, the boot opener is just below here, or of course you can open it on the key, and inside here you'll get over 400 litres. That's plenty enough for a week's holiday, loads of shopping. It's actually a lot bigger than you may realise. One of my favourite things about this car is actually the keyless entry door handles. So they're kind of pop-out door handles, very similar to Tesla, but I just think they're so more user-friendly. So rather than having a swipe open, these actually have a button to open and close the door handles. Now, I like this because it's so much easier to use. So if you press the button on here, the door handles will pop out. I love that they're contrasting black and you've got BYD written on them as well. They just feel super premium. So let's take a look on the inside, because is it as sleek as it looks from the outside? Yes, I said it at the start of this video, and I'm going to repeat myself again. I cannot believe this is the standard interior on this car. Sure, I understand that it tips the scales at over £40,000, but the quality on the interior of this car is amazing. A real highlight for me is these seats. They're quilted, they're wingback, they're leather, or at least leather look because they're vegan. They're ventilated, contrasting stitching, contrasting piping, BYD etched into them or sewn into them. They just feel so special. This isn't actually my perfect spec. If I was going to spec up this car, I would 100% have the light blue, baby blue interior. It's so beautiful. It was on the car that I tested, which was in the Excellence trim. And I can't believe you can get that interior on this lower spec trim as well, although none of them are really lower spec. You also get suede all the way across the dashboard, and then you've got lots of sleek elements of chrome and little bits of plastic, but really plastic's hard to find. The main part is on this centre console, but it's kind of smoothed off in a way that it doesn't get fingerprints on it, and it actually feels like it's finished nicely. It's just a really, really lovely car to be in. I love the interior. I love the interior. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care. I really do think they've just got it so spot on. Okay, I'll stop now. I'll try and find something I don't like. Bear with me. I think the screen's a little bit too big. I do. So, of course, this is their party trick screen. Absolutely massive. And you can also twist it to be portrait. But for me, it doesn't really fit in the car when it's in portrait, and I don't like it as much. So I like to have it in landscape, which is just as well, because when you use Apple CarPlay and Android, actually, no Android Auto, sorry. When you use Apple CarPlay, yeah, no Android Auto. But when you use Apple CarPlay, you have to have it in this landscape orientation. So lucky I prefer it like that. 2 large wireless charging pads up front, plenty of storage underneath here. That's really cool. I like the steering wheel as well. Once again, it feels very elegant. You can actually see yourself in it. There's a little reflection on the BYD in the centre. That catches you off guard sometimes, actually, when you're driving. You're like, oh, who's that? It's you in the reflection. Maybe that's just me. I also really like this gear selector as well. It's finished in crystal. It's so special. I loved this about Volvos, so I'm kind of glad they've nabbed that across from Volvo because that looks really cool. I like how this is finished in a circle as well. It's very cohesive to the shape of the cup holders. It's just such a beautifully designed car. BYD have really excelled themselves when it comes to this. But maybe it is just me. Let me know. What do you think of this interior in the comments down below? The rear-wheel drive design model that I've been driving offers 313 horsepower and a 354-mile range, which those figures in themselves may explain the slightly higher price tag than you may have been expecting. Stepping up to the all-wheel drive excellence cuts the range figure to 323 miles, as the second motor boosts the power to a hefty 530 horsepower. In addition, the excellence also gets a head-up display and a clever suspension system. But the majority of the benefit of going for the higher trim level is the performance. That performance is incredibly well priced. Getting a BMW i4 with the same power is an additional £20,000. The small letdown, however, is the maximum charging speed of up to 150 kilowatts, which is hardly class leading, but at least that gives you a 10 to 80% charge in under half an hour. So I'm just at the end of my week spent with the BYD Seal, and it's not often I say this about an EV, but I really don't want to give this car back. The longer that I've spent with it, the more I like it. Yes, there are some niggling issues, and I am going to go over those, but overall, it's just a really nice car to drive. It's been perfect EV weather because it's been quite warm, and that means that the range that it's held has been incredibly good. I've been seeing in excess of sort of 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really impressive. Although, to be able to find what this car is running at when it comes to miles per kilowatt hour, it's really difficult because you've got all sorts of numbers all over the screen and none of them actually seem to be the really easy and one that you need to know. But in terms of power delivery, this car's really impressive. As I said, it's not the sporty one, but it's still ridiculously quick. And if you put it in sport mode, it will literally take your breath away. It is instant torque and it feels so powerful. And actually, it's quite engaging to drive as well. I've actually found myself in eco a lot of the time. It gives a really smooth power delivery and you still have quite well-weighted steering. It's not light at all, and that means that it feels engaging to drive even in eco. And when you do have eco on, you still get a decent power delivery, but it's just a lot smoother. Now, press the little toggle to switch it into sport mode, and this car just becomes absolutely rapid. Even though this isn't the high performance model, it's so quick and the power delivery is absolutely instant. And that means it gives you a little bit more of a jerky drive, and I'm not sure how much changes about the suspension, but it feels a lot harder and a lot bumpier when you're in sport mode, and personally makes me feel a little bit sick. I much prefer this car in eco, so let's pop it back into eco. There is also a normal mode as well, so you don't have to just choose between the two. But overall, I've just found it a really nice car to drive. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's super comfortable. These seats are lovely. And it's been amazing, actually, that I've been able to have the cooled seats on because it's been really hot. And then also I picked up a pizza the other day and I could put heated seats on as well, which is a little bit of a novelty. Now, there are some negatives though, and I'm going to move on to talking about those. And a lot of them are kind of mainly around the tech. So, of course, the first one you may have heard is that the car's been bleeping at me quite a lot. And this is your speed warning. So this is either when the speed limit changes or when you go over the speed limit. It kind of gives you some bleeps to let you know that that's what's happening. And it is annoying. And as far as I can tell, there's no simple way of actually turning this off. I have looked around and I can eventually find it under the traffic sign recognition. But here's the problem. I want traffic sign recognition. I'd like to know what the speed limit is and I want it to show up on my digital dash. What I don't want is the bleeps. But I can't seem to turn off one without the other, which is a bit of a shame. You have to turn off all the traffic sign recognition and then you don't get any of that nice stuff, but you don't get any of the speed warnings either. And also it doesn't remember. So as soon as you turn the car off, you have to go through the whole process again. This is really common with new cars. This isn't something that's exclusive to the BYD, but it's just worth mentioning. And the other thing where me and this car had a small fallout this week, we had a little lover's tiff. And that was when I was going to the airport and I put it into the sat nav because I was being lazy. I didn't want to do my CarPlay over a cable because I couldn't find a USB-C cable. And the sat nav took me onto a closed road. Now, this was a known closed road. It was a planned closed road. And had it been an online satellite navigation, it would have known that. And the whole time that I was driving along the M25, this car thought I was going to arrive in sort of an hour and a half. And my Apple Maps was saying that I was going to arrive in 3 hours. And guess which one was right? Yeah, it was the Apple Maps. So there is a slight issue there. I don't know whether it's because this car in particular isn't online and there is some online services, because I know you can get Spotify on this car. So there must be online services. It's just my experience. The sat-nav was, well, to put it bluntly, crap. But here's the thing. If this was actually my car, then I probably would have a cable and I would be using Apple CarPlay, and then it wouldn't be an issue at all. But it is worth noting, these small niggling things aren't really big enough issues to put me off disliking this car. In fact, it really has cemented whilst driving it that I really, really like it. Now, here's one place where the BYD has the Tesla topped in almost every way, and that's the rear seats. I'm so impressed with the space back here. You've got more space in the back of the Seal than you do in the 3, and that's because it's slightly longer. It reminds me a lot of the Ioniq 6 back here. You've got such a lounged position. There's loads of legroom. Look at that, that's ridiculous. That's actually set up in my driver position, and I can nearly put my legs out fully straight. There's also space to put them underneath the seat as well, which is really good. I love the backs of the seats. You've got these sporty plastic parts, which I'm sure you could insert iPad holders or phone holders into the back there. You've also got multiple seat pockets. So you've got a large one underneath and then 2 spaces for your mobile phone, which is brilliant. This centre console, you've got rear climate, but not rear climate control. So it is only front seat passengers which can control the climate control, which I guess is a bit of a shame considering how much space is back here. But at least you've got air vents, little bit of storage. And then actually, you've got 2 USB-C chargers, which are hidden behind that kind of pop-out flap. So it's nice that you can keep it tidy. You've got a pull-out armrest with a couple of cup holders. There's nothing extraordinary there. It just feels so high quality in the back here. This is so soft, this material. And you've got suede across the doors. You've got a little bit of door storage as well, about big enough to fit a bottle of water. But the thing that I'm really impressed with in this car, and I did the same thing on my Ioniq 6 review, is just how much space there is behind the front seats. And I'm going to test that by... Look at that! I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could fit a whole person behind the front seats. That's really, really impressive. Now I've just got to try and get out of here without looking too unelegant. I don't think that's possible. Ugh. Sure, the sensible thing if you're buying a car in this class would be to go for the Tesla Model 3. But when has car buying ever been about being sensible? It's always been about buying with your heart, the car that you love. So don't just buy a Tesla Model 3 because that's what everyone told you is the best value for money. Buy the car that you really think works for you. And personally, I love the BYD Seal. I love the styling, I love the interior comfort, I love all of the tech. And the figures are pretty good as well. Sure, they're not as good as the Tesla Model 3, but they're definitely not bad. And with electric cars, we need to stop focusing so much on those tiny little differences between different cars and just focus on what works for us. But let me know, what do you think of the BYD Seal? Perhaps you do prefer another car in this class. Let me know which in the comments down below. I really hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, see you later.